We're live, baby. It is a Monday. So much wrestling news to get into. The war. You want a TV war? Well, guess what? You got it. Two billionaires are going at it. Friday Night Network versus cable. AEW versus WWE. That isn't enough. We're going to have a battle of generations. We're talking about the man, Becky Lynch, and the queen of WWE Extreme. Lita? Becky Lynch? Is this a thing? Did our Twitter get us into trouble? Are you watching this and not doing the thing you're supposed to do, which is share the gosh darn link? Watch out, watch out, watch out, watch out! Watch out, watch out, watch out, watch out, watch out. How many of you guys watching this? If you're joining us for the first time, this is Sportskeeda Wrestling top story of the day coming at you late afternoons, Monday through Friday. During the weekdays, so much to get into. That is Jeremy Bennett holding it down. Jeremy, you've been doing so much double duty for us recently. Thank you so much, buddy.
What's up? What's happening?
We got a lot to get into. We got a lot to get into here.
We started something. I think we started something on the Twitter.
Did we start something with Lita and Becky Lynch? We will talk about that in a little bit. We also talk about the very big issue now between AEW's president, Tony Khan, over the weekend calling out WWE. All right, so we're going to talk about this. We're going to get into all of it. Plus, we'll talk about the big interview we have here with Dominic Mysterio. Dominic Mysterio doing an interview with us, which was very, very, really revealing. That is out now on the channel. If you have not watched it, if you're a fan of Rey Mysterio, I think you need to see this. I think there are some things that he didn't. That he, I don't want to say he was coy, but he was pretty clear with me. Plus, I have a brand new interview up with Drew McIntyre on the channel right now. You can check it out. Also available in our podcast feed. Go ahead and subscribe to it on Apple, on Spotify, all your different apps. Podcast Addict. We have a following there as well. And if you're a big supporter of the channel, just go ahead and subscribe to it. We're on YouTube. We're nearing 22,000 people, which is pretty sweet. So let's get into this big story here. What did we do here with Lita and Becky Lynch? What happened over the weekend?
Oh boy,
lay this out to him.
Oh boy, it all started. It all started with just a simple, innocent little tweet at SK Wrestling _ on the Twitter. Our official Twitter account said, "How about one more match?" At Amy Dumas, and Amy retweeted it and said, "Well, asking her fans, who's your pick? Who's your pick?" And she said, "Well, somebody responded. A certain man." Responded Becky Lynch saying, "I'll send you off with a bad arm if you like." Oh, hey, how you doing? Well, then Lita responds, "Well, if you happen to find yourself in the neighborhood tomorrow," and the man says, "Well, I got a couple other people to beat up, then I'm free." So, what did we do? What did we start? We started something, didn't we?
If this comes together,
wouldn't that be something?
And if you wanted to just get someone who can still go, and Lita's been in the ring the past few years.
Yeah.
Looks healthy. Her matches are sporadic. Still looks like $1 million. Still has that great standing with fans of multiple generations. But if she gets in there and it's that isolated situation where you want your generational battle, you can get it here. You can really get something special out of this. And they did this before with Charlotte and Trish a few years ago. And it was fun. Yep. I wouldn't say it was a mega fantastic match, but just the fact you got to see it was entertaining, Yeah. And I do think there's an attraction here. But with Lynch, she's been able to really turn the needle and really aggravate some people. And I think Lita was deceptively good in that regard. This could be something really special. Steven Chambers, thumbs up, Lita versus Becky. What are the chances of having a mixed tag with Beth and Edge versus Seth and Becky? Wow, we're already booking another match here, Steven. Let's just get through the first one. I can see if they wanted to do it, it could be a Mania match. I don't know what that says to anyone else on the main roster, right?
Yeah.
I'll say this. I think this would be a great Royal Rumble match.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's gonna be, or maybe set it up at the Rumble. Maybe Lita is a surprise women's entrant.
You do this in Saudi Arabia in February if you want.
You could, accidentally or purposely Lita throws her over the top rope in a big surprise and set yourself up for Mania, maybe. But it was pretty cool to see this get national attention. Outlets like Bleacher Report and Fightful, and all from just a simple tweet of a little dream match article of matches we would want to see with just a little innocent tweet.
And we have great fan content like that. I would say like fan dream content. If you haven't checked it out, our top fives are up like that all the time.
That's what that was a top 5. Yeah.
It was a top 5. We do a bunch of them. Thank you guys who watched our top 5 video. Richest, nearly 3 million people watched me talk about who has a lot of money in WWE.
I did ridiculous. One very similar with UFC.
Yeah.
Actually, it was just single paydays, I think it was, but not overall rich. But
yeah, and if you're a fan of MMA, check out our other channel, Sportskeeda MMA, covering that as well. They have a lot of content coming out of the big fight this weekend with Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder. It should happen. If Lita can do this, they should do it. People can get into this thing and make it really, really count and be something special. I think with those cross-generational stars, people say, "Oh, how come they don't build new stars? Build new stars." They are, but you don't have to build Lita for this match. You just bring her back, and it's gone.
Yeah,
that's the thing about it. Like everyone gets mad about these things. Oh, build, but pay off me now. I want something paid off now.
Well,
I want something paid off now. Lita comes back. The payoff is what is she going to do once she's there? You're excited for what she's going to do.
You build it by starting with like a Rumble elimination or just something as simple as that, and then the rest just writes itself on the road to WrestleMania if you go that route.
Mm-hmm. So this is pretty ridiculous here. See what happens and see how it comes together. Fun that it happened with us. It would be fun if it happened with any of our friends at other websites or anything like that as well. Let's get into our other stories of the day. What's story number 2? What do we got here?
Number two, Tony Khan firing some shots. Now, SmackDown, thanks to baseball, is going to be on FS1 this week. So we are getting a supersized SmackDown, which is 2 hours and 30 minutes. No word on if SmackDown is going to last that long or if they're going to have a short overrun and do a talking smack type of deal afterwards. Hasn't been really made official yet, but the cable guide says that SmackDown is going to 9:30 Central, 10:30 Eastern, which means the first half hour of SmackDown, or the last half hour of SmackDown, is going head to head with the first half hour of Rampage, now both in cable, FS1 versus TNT. So very interesting that that's happening, but of course it's because the baseball playoffs. So now you have a cable head-to-head matchup, and Tony Khan on the Twitter says, I saw you're doing half an hour head-to-head with us. I can't wait to finally beat your main show head-to-head. It's been a long time coming. See you next Friday for AEW Rampage on TNT.
Well,
and he responded to a fan. A fan said, "Why don't you worry about your own show?"
Sure.
He goes, "I already announced Rampage card for next Friday, and it's straight fire, Chief."
Here's the cult of AEW, the fans that are just loyal to him, the fans that love the trolling, the fans that go online just to argue with other people that are loyal to WWE, who they just show up for the internet argument, right?
Yeah.
The fact of the matter is, this is the B show of AEW. I'm not disagreeing with Tony Khan. They really stacked this show next week.
Well, unfortunately,
they're going to put something in that opening slot that's going to be the biggest thing they could possibly can. It's going to be bigger than anything else on that show. But you're talking about SmackDown. You're talking about a show that has 20 years of lead. There's gonna. I'm not making any predictions. This isn't going to be an easy fight.
No, it depends. I mean,
that's all. I mean, is that a fair assumption?
Yeah, and you're also going to have to look at you're looking at a half hour of you're looking at a fifth of the show. You know,
they already have a lead in 2 hours.
Yeah, so it's basically you got to get Brandon Thurston from I forget what whatever he's from. You know, he'll be able to break down. Check his Twitter.
The problem is if they lose, what does that say?
Yeah, right. Yeah. Well, and here's the thing.
You jump off the top rope, you're hitting the mat, man.
AEW, they're coming off their lowest rating for Rampage this week. They barely cracked 500,000. But WrestleNomics is where Brandon Thurston is at. So
what did the show do overnight?
Let me pull it in. I got he just tweeted it.
It was under around 700,000.
502.
502.
They did
that's a low. What did that show premiere at? When it debuted?
It premiered over 1 million. I think it premiered close to 1 million.
Sure.
It's right on average. It's been doing high sixes.
Yeah. Okay, so now you're doing NXT numbers.
But it dropped considerably this Friday for whatever reason. I don't know what.
Was baseball on? Do they have playoffs baseball or no?
Yeah, baseball is going on.
Right.
Football,
but here's
maybe
the thing:
some
you
football.
look at just last time that SmackDown got preempted on network television, right? And had to go to cable. It did 881,000.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And so that's an overnight number. So it's clearing at least 1.2, 1.3. And that's not to say that Rampage isn't clearing 1 million. We're talking about overnight number. That's the number that most fans are going to read about. That's the most fans that are going to see get covered news-wise. Your 72-hour number is pretty big. When everyone says, oh, NXT doesn't have an audience, really, there's well over 1 million people watching it every week.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of, are they watching it that night or the next day? Are they DVRing it? And that does include like social media. It does include international streaming of any kind at all. And then all you people that don't pay for it and watch it too. So you're not including that number to begin with.
Yeah.
Damn you. There are many fair ways to watch television. Very, very affordable.
And they're stacking.
What do you think this is? Do you think this is just Tony Khan just trying to pump people up and get them excited?
Yeah. It's going to work both ways, especially if SmackDown can see that and want to answer it and make sure
Marcus Brown has a take here. He's texting and saying CM Punk versus Matt Sydal isn't the match that will defeat SmackDown's Becky Lynch and Sasha Banks and Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns segment on Friday. Gotta admit, hey, you want to compete with WWE? WWE is going to compete back. That's what they're doing here, and that's something to be said as well. And I don't know. I mean, they're going to do something big. They're going to do something big in that half hour.
Yeah, and it's like, I don't know. I almost would lead off with the 6-man tag because it's Junior Dos Santos's in-ring debut. That's the bigger story than Punk.
Think that's a bigger story?
Yeah, because Punk's wrestled 3-4 times already on television, so it's not really a big deal that Punk's wrestling on Friday because he just wrestled last Friday against Danny Garcia in what was a great 12 minute match. I think the bigger story is Junior Dos Santos' in-ring debut, honestly. And then you got Ruby Soho making her Rampage debut. I think it's a Rampage debut. I'm not 100% sure, but she's taking on the Bunny. It's just Tony. I think it's Tony drumming up interest all around.
He's going to he's going to their loyal fans. The fans that are loyal to them. All right. That doesn't mean those are fans that won't follow WWE, by the way. Don't get it twisted.
Yeah.
They're watching this and saying, "Oh wow, cool. Yeah, let's beat SmackDown, right?" And maybe they'll beat them in some demo number in that half hour. But the fact of the matter is, there's going to be some split. Like SmackDown's going to win a majority of this, or SmackDown's going to get this. They're not going to beat what's on network that night because it's going to be Major League Baseball, right? So if you want to compare overall TV number, no,
they're not going to beat the overall number for SmackDown either.
And I know people are paying attention to this, but what is it? I keep coming back to what does it say if you lose? Yeah. What does it say if you lose? Now that doesn't mean like AEW is going to be canceled or anything like this. It's just you brought more attention to this. You know what I mean? You brought more attention to it. That's my only thing. You don't want it to blow up in your face here. Let's see here. Jay Feliciano, big friend of the show. Always supportive. Helped us broadcast from AEW All. He says, could we see a new big debut on Rampage to Combat? Could they do some big surprise? They're going to have 15 minutes to get people to change the channel.
They're going to have to do that the first 30 seconds.
First 30 seconds, they're going to have to do something.
Yeah. That's the only way they're going to get any kind of advantage is to,
What is that, though? What is that? They haven't teased anything.
No, I really don't think they have anything up their sleeve for this. And they got,
that isn't to say they have to have anything special up their sleeve. They just have to say like, hey, if you haven't checked out our show and you're watching SmackDown and it's still on, we're on. Why don't you check out us? I think there's something to be said for that too. They don't, maybe they don't have to dress the table up more than it already is. They got enough stakes on there. They have more than AEW is more than enough to be entertaining. But I'll say this: Friday nights, I'll watch SmackDown, but about 9, I'm kind of like wrestled out for the night. I'll watch you guys do Smack Talk, right? And then I'll catch your Rampage on Saturday afternoon, or like Sunday or something like that. I was doing the Milwaukee Comedy Festival. I skimmed through it on Sunday afternoon, and so that was my take. I was like, what are those weekend numbers going to be like too? And you have sports and all these different things. So Donna is texting in saying, I want to see Punk shut down Team Taz. That's true. See how that plays out here. Certainly has to be exciting here. Nishad saying Tony the Tiger Khan. Yeah,
great.
The Tiger Claws were out tonight, and Tony is definitely It definitely seems like he has a fire in his ass to go get himself a piece of WWE. And then at the same point, you got to think like WWE was like, yeah, we want to come for you. We want to do something. We want to take some of your number here. And if they do, that is a big win for WWE.
Yeah,
if they take some of the number, that's another thing to think about too. Is they're only going to be head to head for about a half an hour.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's hard telling. Like I said, there was rumors that it may only be like a 5-minute overrun of SmackDown, and then talking smack afterwards. It is still kind of unknown what exactly they're going to do for that show for that last half hour.
If I'm WWE, I do talking smack right away. Do it. Why not?
Yeah, but
do it half an hour and then let them have an hour later on at night.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's not another thing. This isn't something that's going to happen all the time. You know,
no.
This isn't something that like. That AEW would be ready for head to head, week to week, like that all the time. I don't even know if WWE would be ready for that either, too, right now, because there's a different thing you got to do for that, you know. And Tommy B saying maybe AEW should do a Saturday morning show, an hour or two. They do cartoons. They do Saturday morning cartoons.
Well, you used to do a Saturday morning show, Superstars.
Yeah, Saturday morning slam, Superstars. That's what I got in wrestling. I was watching on Saturday morning. Right, came on right after cartoons.
It was either there or some. I think some areas did it on Sundays. I think my area did it on Sundays.
Let's get into our very great conversation I had with Dominic Mysterio. Dominic Mysterio, I think, had one of the best WWE debuts of all time. That is a fact I think I can back up. If you've not watched that SummerSlam debut he had in 2020, it was something special. But obviously him debuting with his father and that legacy that he is immediately tied to and the expectations that come with it are quite big. You've seen on television on SmackDown recently growing tensions between father and son. Where is this going? It leads to a question we're all asking. And now there is a little bit of some tension between you and your father. That happens in any family. It leads a lot of people to ask a question that I think I'm going to ask you. Are you gonna get in the ring and have a match with your father at some point?
So me personally, I would not like to get in the ring with my dad just because I think there's so much more that we can do still. But what you're seeing on TV is how we argue and how we fight and how we bump heads, man. That's 100% us. He literally nitpicks freaking everything. And sometimes it gets to the point where like no cameras are on us. And I'm just like, I get it, Pops. Like, I see what I'm doing here. And it's frustrating, but at the same time, I understand where he's coming from as a dad trying to help me out. So I think it's important for me to realize that, but I don't know, man. I don't know if I see myself jumping in the ring and trading blows with him just because at the end of the day, that is Pops.
Yeah.
We fight, we're going to fight. That's part of nature. But I don't know if I'd go in there and trade blows with him.
Mm-hmm. Now, you obviously got an interesting conversation there. Certainly interesting. What is going on there? There were so many more follow-up questions I wanted to ask Jeremy, but I only had so much time. Want to remind you that Dominic and the superstars of WWE are presenting a WWE house show, is what they call them, right? Show.
Live event, I think is the technical
term.
Coming to
Rockford. It's going to be December 18th, BMO Harris Bank. If you're in the Midwest and you're thinking, like, I always just want to go to pay-per-view. I don't want to go to this. House shows it. This show is stacked. On this one show, Charlotte Flair, Becky Lynch, Roman Reigns, the Usos, Mysterio, Drew McIntyre. That is all one show. Best of both brands. There's gonna be a SmackDown in Chicago. There's gonna be a Raw Milwaukee. Maybe you want to split the difference. Saturday night, easier for you to go out, right? Make the trip.
Yeah.
If you're in the Midwest, come out to Rockford. You can win tickets, by the way, thanks to our friends at my rock radio station, 104.9 The X in Rockford. You go to thexrockford.com. That's thexrockford.com. You can win tickets to the show there. And thank you for them hooking us up on the interview. You can watch the whole thing up now on our YouTube channel, and we'll be dropping the podcast audio sometime later today. Quite the conversation. We do about 12, 13 minutes. He lays out his dream scenario for WrestleMania with his dad. Which is very, very cool, and talks about wanting to have a mask when he debuted, and that didn't get to happen, and kind of why that didn't get to happen. Very nice to have a conversation with him. Very nice to have a conversation with them. And thank you to WWE's PR department for arranging all that too. They were very accommodating. So we have some more stories to talk about before we wrap up today, correct?
Yeah. Plus, I mean, it's kind of funny. I think that both of them are denying ever having a match. I think there's something in the works.
I wanted him to say like, yeah, I'm gonna, you know.
I think they're both denying it. They're both saying it's never going to happen because I think there's something in the works coming.
When do they do it? When do you do it? Do you
got to do it at
Is that a Mania match?
You got to, but I don't know. It depends on how they. It depends on how they progress.
Something he talked about in this Mania moment that he wants to have with his father was a moment. Wasn't a match.
Yeah.
And the moment is very touching, to say the least, that he wants to have. I interviewed Ray years ago before Dominic got the debut, and people knew Dominic was training to wrestle. And I asked him, and it was like, what is something you want to achieve in WWE now that you're coming back for what many people expect is your final run with the company? And he goes, this entire point of my career now is to set my son up for something.
Yeah.
And I want to have a special moment with him at WrestleMania. And I want to end my career with my son in the ring and in a tag team scenario and pass the torch to him.
Mm-hmm.
And the way Dominic described what he wants to happen plays into that. But now we have all this tension on top of it. I think it could be one of the more emotional stories that WWE can tell, right now, heading into WrestleMania. Everyone's talking about Rock and Reigns. I think this is another match to be like right there, right underneath it in terms of what you want to see pay off.
It doesn't necessarily have to be a blood feud either.
It already is a blood feud.
Well, I mean, you know what I mean. You know what I mean. Like, we're getting violent and things like that. I don't think it necessarily has to be that, but it's more of a Dominic overcoming his father in a match. The sad thing is the great stuff they're doing with Sami Zayn, but now they're split up. The Mysterios and Sami are split up in the draft because Sami stayed on SmackDown. So.
Mm-hmm. Certainly interesting. Lot going on here. We're just about an hour out from this week's Raw. If you're joining us on the live stream, if you're watching on demand, plenty to cover there. And if you're just like, I keep part of it or something like that, pull up our news stream during the show. We have a stream that just kind of catches you up on everything that's happening on the show, beat for beat, and on all the social media in one click. You don't have to go clicking around for everything. It's all in one place. We aggregate that for you. We do that with all of our weekly TV shows, by the way. Go to sportskeeda.com or download the Sportskeeda app. So what are we wrapping up with today?
Well, let's talk about one thing. Of course, the draft was a big thing. We had some sweet coverage on the draft for both nights and had a lot of fun doing so. And ever since that draft has happened, lots of news has come out on what was supposed to happen and what has changed. Another split was supposed to happen at the WWE draft, but and according to WrestleVotes, there was a plan in place to split up AJ Styles and Omos. Due to a new report, there was a very serious consideration that goes along with consideration of breaking up the Street Profits, but they decided in the end that Omos was not quite ready for a singles run yet, and that was actually a top superstar. They didn't say who, but a top superstar spoke up and said Omos isn't ready yet. And WWE listened, called the audible, and kept them together. I don't know if it would have been a guy like Randy Orton, maybe AJ Styles himself. But it's interesting to see that somebody noticed it was too soon to pull that trigger, and WWE listened.
I don't disagree with that. I'm no judge of talent. I don't know the physical thing this guy's capable of, but no matter what, he's an attraction. The guy's very big.
Crowd pops for him.
I mean, every time he walks out there is there's an air sucking out of the room when you see him. And Big Show had that. This guy has that too, in terms of that instantaneous reaction. And he had a special WrestleMania moment against the New Day. They made him look like $1 million. And they also never do anything with him that like exposes any limitations he would have as being a guy that big.
Yeah.
But is he ready to do solo matches? He had this match with Randy. It was more of an angle, and everyone's like, "Oh, why do they do that? Why do they do that?" Maybe there's some hesitation to see if they could pull off a singles match with him.
Yeah, and that's why I'm thinking maybe Randy was the guy that spoke up.
That isn't to say like, "Oh, this guy's awful" or anything like that. You know, it's just the ECW model: hide your weaknesses. Highlight your strength, and I learned that doing radio and stand up and different stuff like that. I'm not the best joke writer, but I can yell and perform and stomp and get them going. I can, I know how to cut a promo, kid. But I can't do a wrist lock to save my life, but I can drop an elbow. So all those ridiculous things that I apply. Yeah. I apply wrestling stuff to everything else I do in life, and it drives everyone crazy. You ever do that?
Oh yeah.
Going back to the office, my boss is a real heel. I find myself doing.
Except half the people I talk to get it. So
I do want to talk about this though before we wrap up here. I know we're coming up here on a time. Forbes did an article this week, which was very, very revealing here about Roman Reigns and how Roman Reigns as a heel has moved the needle for WWE on merchandise at a level that is comparable to John Cena. Mm-hmm. This is a very entertaining article. Definitely go check this out. It's at Forbes.com. Blake Osterreicher, I wrote this, and I hope you're saying that correctly. And it was worth noting that Reigns has finally surpassed Cena in merchandise sales, even despite some fans' resistance to his massive push as the clear successor to the champ. Now, mind you, this has only happened recently. Maybe more people are involved with the head of the table as compared to the big dog. But this is really interesting that Forbes, which is a very viable force in terms of everything going on in finance, I trust them as a source in their article on this. Interesting. Reigns is red hot. Who takes him out? Does John Cena come back for another crack? I mean, who's the guy? Is it The Rock? They have some big matches here, and him and Brock Lesnar are going to go clash horns here in a few weeks.
Yeah, they need somebody up and coming to take him down to make it mean something. But WWE half the time doesn't go that route. See Undertaker's streak being broken by a guy that really didn't need it. He didn't need that kind of rub. So it's probably going to be an established guy that beats Roman eventually. But I tell you what, though, I mean that new Bloodline shirt is one of the coolest shirts they've done in a while.
It is a badass looking shirt, dude.
Yeah, so that helps.
Also, like the head of the table is like those basic shirts. They look good too. Yep, they're not bad looking shirts.
Yeah, so it's not surprised that as a heel, he's moved the needle with that merchandise.
And there were women, there were kids, there were non-dudes that turned out for Roman when he was a babyface and and they still buy merch. That's still a merch buying crowd. People think it's just the dudes who want to collect things and put them on the wall and like your Funko Pops. It's just about me and my neckbeard friends. No, that is two bearded men with we like coverage. You gotta have the coverage. All right, yeah, that's what gives you the volume.
It's a little more than a neckbeard.
You wear it well. But certainly interesting that Roman is that hot, and John Cena's out of the picture, and Roman beat him clean at SummerSlam. So we'll see what happens here. Certainly interesting here. We will follow in the weeks ahead. Remember, when watching wrestling, you got to do the most important thing. Whether you're trying to win tickets to see WWE live in Rockford, Illinois on December 18th, whether you're following the latest news, all right, you got to go to one place. And that one place is Sportskeeda.com. And after you do that, and you bitch and complain that the televised wrestling companies don't do exactly what you want them to do, and they don't follow your fantasy booking, if and only they would just listen to you and my ideas, everything would be better, right? Everything would be so much better, right, Jeremy? Yeah. Enjoy wrestling, everybody.
Enjoy it.
Enjoy it.
Yeah.
Let
me talk to you.
Talk to them.